So I've had some questions come up with these new M1 lights in regards to what would happen if you cut them and then use some extension wire to reconnect so you could place sections of the LED strip in different areas of your room. Now I'm not actually going to do this, but to hopefully better understand the question, let's say you wanted to put part of the strip here, then another part in this mantle, and then finally put another section in the corner. Is this something that's theoretically possible to do, and if so, how? The first thing I'm going to do is take a 5 meter strip and cut it into individual 1 meter lengths. Now since there are cut points every half meter, the most you could cut this down to would be to 10 pieces. One important thing to mention when you're getting these reconnected is that you need to make sure the G on the LED strips are all going in the same orientation. Here's what it should look like, here's what it should not look like. And these strips do have that rubber type material over the LEDs, so once you cut them it's super easy just to use your finger to peel back and then pull off to expose the pads. So if you're intimidated by soldering like I was a little over a year ago, I highly recommend watching my how-to video I put together recently, in which I go over in great detail with close-up footage of the few basic techniques to learn that will allow you to do pretty much anything you want with LEDs. Now my plan to test things out is to reconnect each section using about 1 foot of 18 gauge silicone wires. If everything works, I'm then going to increase the wire length in one section to about 10 feet and see what happens. From here it's just a lot of cutting, prepping, and soldering wires to the pads. I'll speed this up since this technique I'm using here is one of the things I cover in my soldering video. And even though it's not necessary, you can certainly use some heat shrink tubing around the joints to make things a little more secure. When connecting things back together, just make sure the wire that's connected to the top pad right here is connected to the top pad on the other section. The second wire will get connected to the second pad, and so on. After everything is connected, this is what it looks like. Let's get everything plugged in and see what happens. For the quick test, I'll use the meteor animation, and as you can see, the light jumps perfectly from one section to the next as if there was no distance at all between them. This is exactly what we want to happen. And the other thing I'm looking for is to see if the extra wires are causing any noticeable drop in color or brightness. And as far as I can see, everything looks just as bright as before, and the color accuracy is spot on across the entire strip. Now if you wanted to be able to manually choose the color for each section, this is where the finger sketch and DIY mode is going to come in handy, which breaks the entire strip into 50 zones that you can control. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to try is cutting one of the gaps in half and adding about 10 feet of additional wires. I ran out of white wires, so I'll be using some black and red ones for the extension. Now you could very well just remove the white ones that are soldered and replace them with these, but I'm just going to be using some Wago connectors to quickly snap everything in place. Everything is now connected with the new 10-foot gap in the middle, so let's turn things on and see what happens. And just like we saw with the other test, the animation is going from one section to the next perfectly with no delay and no visible drop in brightness or color. So this was definitely a fun little experiment to confirm what I had initially thought would happen, but hopefully seeing how it's done can help some of you who might want to do something similar and place sections in different parts of your room without having to buy multiple strips. So that about wraps things up for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, let me know if you have any questions at all.